Hey, I'm Jamie, and I've been studying Korean for a little over 2 years now. I feel like I'm finally at a point in my Korean ability that I can start sharing what I did to get to the level I'm at today. I would say I'm at a mid to upper intermediate level, and I've had pretty much the same study routine since the beginning. Maybe I've changed a few things here and there, but recently I decided to change my routine completely because I'm now studying for the topic exam, and I feel like my study routine needs to reflect that. But it got me thinking about what my study routine looked like when I first started learning Korean, and I thought I would share with you guys what I did the first 3 months I started studying. So I pulled out all my materials and I typed up my study routine from back then. And yeah, if you're interested in knowing what I did the first 3 months I started studying Korean, then you should keep watching. I'm just gonna get right to it and show you my Korean study routine for the first 3 months, and then I'll go into better detail about everything that's in this routine. So my first step in studying every day was using YouTube and Duolingo to learn Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet. I was also doing 1 to 3 lessons from the Talk to Me in Korean books and workbooks levels 1 and 2. I was doing listen and repeat verb exercises to and from work every day in my car. I was doing a chapter from a vocabulary book every 2 to 3 days. And I had made a vocabulary stack that I was just reviewing in my free time. So my first step in learning Korean was learning Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet. This was my first step, and I did this before buying any books or making any note cards. I mainly used YouTube, and my favorite YouTube video was by Go Billy. He has an awesome Hangul series. He even goes through the stroke order. It was fantastic. And then I made some corresponding note cards that had each letter on it, and then also some super simple syllable blocks that helped me read some really simple sounds. So after I had Hangul down, I bought my first book, and my first book was Talk to Me in Korean Level 1. I love Talk to Me in Korean. I love the setup of this book, and I love how they just went straight into things I felt like I needed to know. I'm going to show you the table of contents, but some things I learned how to say were hello, thank you, yes, no, goodbye, I want to, the present and the past tense, when, why, how, who, really important stuff. Yeah, it was a great book. There's 25 chapters in this book, and you literally zoom through them. Each chapter has sample sentences and also a little quiz at the end that checks for understanding. After I was done with the first book, I got Talk to Me in Korean Level 2. Some things I learned from this book were how to speak in the future tense, how to say days of the week, but, however, how to say that I was good or bad at something, how to say have to, should, must. It was a really well-rounded book, and it has 30 chapters. So for both levels 1 and 2, I ended up buying the corresponding workbook that goes with these levels. I'm glad I did. As a beginner, it was super helpful. It had a lot of comprehension questions, dictation practice, some vocabulary practice as well, and it was a great way to just emphasize what I was learning in those first 2 levels. Anytime I was studying in a book, I was taking notes at the same time. I always get all my notebooks from TJ Maxx, and I always say this because I think they have the best notebooks. When I took notes at first, I would just write any key points. If it was a grammar lesson, I was writing key conjugation points, any important vocabulary words, and then the sample sentences. I didn't start making my own sample sentences until after maybe month 3. I will say though, I wish I had started doing that sooner. That's a practice I ended up picking up later on in my studying. I honestly got a lot of my vocabulary from my grammar books, but I did also buy this book. It's My First 500 Korean Words by Talk to Me in Korean. What I liked about this book was that at the beginning of every chapter, they would give you the words in a small paragraph, like almost a little story, and having those words in context was really helpful. They also had like little crossword puzzles and comprehension questions at the end of a chapter. So as a starter book for vocabulary, I would recommend this one. The vocabulary words that I got from this book, I ended up turning them into vocabulary cards. This is my first stack of vocabulary cards. When I first started making vocab cards, I would write the word in Hangul, and then I would also write the romanization of that word underneath it. I could read Hangul at the time, but I was reading super slowly, and also I would get mixed up with some letters here and there, and so it was just better for me to have the romanization underneath it to be sure I was saying it correctly. After this first set, I stopped using romanization, and I felt confident enough to read Korean by itself. When I first started studying Korean, I was studying about 2 hours every day at my desk after work. That's not including doing listen and repeat verbs in my car or times I would fit in note cards, and that's like minimum 2 hours every day. Because when you first start learning a language, You go from knowing absolutely nothing to learning so much so fast. And honestly, it's like a euphoric feeling that I was addicted to. So I could study up to like 6, 7, 8 hours on the weekends. I would fit in like 3, 4 hour sessions after work sometimes. I was studying all the time. Now that I am where I'm at, I definitely don't study as long, but the first 3 months I went crazy and studied quite a bit. I hope you found something in this video helpful. I'm still getting used to YouTube coming from TikTok, so if you have any suggestions of what I should do a video on next, yeah, I would love to hear that. Thank you for the support and thanks for watching. Bye.